We're going to go ahead and begin our focus lesson on lesson 1.5, and we're working around the I can statement that we can determine whether to use mean, median, or mode to summarize our data sets, and kind of looking at sometimes one can be better than the other, kind of depending on the situation. So let's look at a few examples here of dealing with some test scores. Okay, so we're starting with number 2 right here. You're supposing that it's the end of the year and your test scores, you've had a 90, 88, 100, and 82%, and you have one more test to take. So your teacher, let's suppose that this time they're going to base your final grade on the median. And we know the median is the one in the middle. Okay, so will you be motivated to study if you knew they were grading on the median? So we know we need to put these test scores in order from least to greatest. So I'll do that right here. Okay, and the median is the one in the middle here, and we know we have a 5th test to take. So will I be motivated to even study? Well, it kind of depends on how you think about it. So in this first example, if I don't study, I know I'm going to probably get my lowest score, okay, whatever that might be out here. So when I put that 5th score in, I know the one in the middle is going to be 88, because these two scores and these two scores cancel each other out and we work our way to the middle. And I would get a B+ for a grade even if I didn't study. So a lot of people would say we're not motivated to study. Now it depends. If you want to get an A, this situation can change. Okay, so if we have an 82, 88, 90, 100, and now let's say I study again and I get something higher than a 90. Okay, so maybe let's say we get a 95 on this test. Okay, so when I get the ones in the middle this time, again, these two will work our way to the middle here, and now I'd get a 90. So maybe I would be motivated to study if I want to get an A in the class, and now I'd get an A- as a 90% if I was going by the median. One reason to maybe use a median is, if you have a huge outlier or a test that's super low or super high, remember that can skew your mean towards that outlier and could maybe not represent your skill level as well as maybe the median. So again, it kind of depends on the situation, which one would be the best one to summarize your data sometimes. Okay, so I'm not going to write out the answers here, but depending on how you feel, you could tell me if the median would be, you'd be motivated to study or not, depending on how you're thinking about that. Okay. Question B, suppose your teacher bases your final grade on the mean. Now we're talking about the average. Okay, will you be motivated to study if we're talking about the mean? Okay, a lot of people would say yes, because we know if we would get a really, really low score, that would really make our average come down and bring our grade down if we had a really, really low score. Okay, so most people would say when you grade on the mean, that's kind of the downfall. Okay, because if you have one outlier or score that's way different than your other ones, it can drag your score down. Now, conversely, it can also take your score really high as well. If you get something, if you kind of have a low grade and all of a sudden you pull off 100%, that's going to raise your average maybe higher than maybe what you deserve, because on your other tests you've shown that maybe you don't know the material as well. So again, it can kind of change, but most people would say they're motivated to study if you're on the average. They know most teachers use the average most of the time, because you're kind of accountable for everything you do, because everything affects your grade. Question C, one more quick example here. Suppose you scored 20% on your final test. What will happen to your mean and median? Will the mean or median better represent your overall performance or summarize your data? So if you scored 20% on your final test, we know with your mean, everything goes into account. Okay, and we're going to look at this would bring our mean really a lot lower than maybe our actual score should be, because this 20% is really a low score. So our average would really come down. So I don't know if that would better represent my score, especially if I scored high on a lot of the other tests. One off test would really change my grade and bring it down here. And we could actually plug it in here, 20%, and find the average of all of this. And I believe if you do that, we're not going to take the time to do it now, your mean would come all the way down to a 76%. If you average these up, if you added that 20% in, and if you look at your scores, Okay, we have an A, a B plus, a perfect, and another B. And this 20% would bring our average clear down to 76%. Does that really represent what you know? Because all your other 4 test scores, really show that you know more than that. Again, so the mean might not always be the best, even though teachers use that a lot of the time, most of the time actually. It might not always be the best. You could have an off day or just not understand one concept, and that shouldn't maybe influence the overall outcome of your grade for that whole semester or quarter. Okay, so if we do the median, we throw that 20% in. Remember, we take the score in the middle, and that would stay the same. Okay, again, if we had these written out from least to greatest, and I throw in a 20%, and then I know I had an 82, an 88, a 90, and a 100, this 20% isn't going to affect my grade. I'd still be getting that 88. Okay, so 88 technically kind of shows my performance better if I take into account the whole picture. But again, you might not be motivated to study if you knew you're going on that median like we talked about on question A. So again, it kind of varies based on how you think sometimes on which one summarizes. The mean, median, which one would be better in which situation can vary a little bit. They both represent your data set. Okay, so it kind of depends on the situation, and that can change.